Time to light it up.
Hi, and welcome back to Box Office Maniacs. And tonight I have a review that I should have done, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago when this movie came out. And I actually did go see this movie the day it came out, but I have been pretty busy with other projects, so finally I got on here to do this late review of The Strangers 2: Prey at Night. I think that's what it's called. I have never talked about the first Strangers on the channel. I thought about getting the Scream Factory release that just came out of it, but after seeing the second one, now I'm just kind of like, well, I'm not sure if I want to get the first one, and I'll explain that here in a minute. Okay, so the first movie I hadn't seen in a long time because it came out almost 10 years ago. And I didn't go to the show to go see it. I rented it as soon as it came out because it looked interesting. I had no idea what it was about. And to tell you the truth, 10 years later, I only ever seen it one time. So once again, I ended up renting it and watching it to refresh my memory for the second one. And I gotta say, wow, it was fantastic. It was actually scary. It actually scared me. I was watching this really late at night. It was probably 10:30, 11 o'clock. Okay, well, it's late at night for me anyway. So I was watching it then, and all the lights off, and the movie was really scary. It actually was. And I remembered parts and pieces of it, but I didn't remember the whole thing, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a great film. I know there are stories that this was a rip-off of another horror film, which I can't remember the name of right now. I never saw it, so, you know, this was an original horror film for me. And again, the plot was good, the acting was good, and it had a lot of good scares. And it was definitely more or less a cat and mouse movie, where the killers are going after the people, and the people are trying to hide from the killers. And there's a lot of tension here, and the killers were interesting, and everything about the first film I enjoyed. So get to the second one, and I was really excited actually to go see the second one. I was like, oh man, this is going to be great. I love the first one, can't wait to see the second one. We could possibly have a brand new franchise going on here. So when the second one started, I was like, oh, okay, well this is interesting. The first one was basically about this family, or this man, this woman, who lived in a cabin, or it was a house or something, out by themselves, and these people show up to, or this girl shows up to their door, knocks on it, asks if somebody is there. When they say no, they leave, and then they come back again and ask again if the person is there, and then they start getting freaked out and they're like, no, and then they leave. And then the three of them, there's one guy with a bag over his head, and then there's two women, and they have like anime masks on, like big eyes, you know, like almost like cartoony like masks on, and they were creepy, and the characters were creepy. So in this one, it's basically the same exact story almost, but this time we actually have a family. We have the mother, the father, and the 2 kids, and the one daughter, I guess, they never really say in the movie what she did, but I guess she was, you know, a troublemaker, so they're going to send her off to boarding school. So they end up taking her from the city out to this area that had a bunch of mobile homes in it. Now, I don't know about the area. I don't know what it was, but they're like, everybody left for the season. It's like, maybe it was a place that people vacationed in or whatever. Again, they didn't really explain it that well. So they get to this camp, and by the time they get there, you kind of already established a family and everything. And the acting was actually pretty decent and all that from the actors. And the plot here, again, was a little different from the first one, up to the point where the person knocks on the door, and then it becomes almost exactly the same movie. And I was hearing rumors about this thing being a remake of the original film, and it's not really a remake. Actually, it's not a remake at all, except for the plot is a remake of the first one, because it's the same exact thing, which sometimes works really well. And in this movie, it did not work at all very well, because again, if you've seen the first film, you already kind of know what's going to happen here. So they get into this house, and then, just like the first film, this woman knocks on the door. Is so-and-so there? Well, no, she's not, so they leave. And that's the point where the movie really needs to start rolling, and it just doesn't. And what made the first film so fun was the cat and mouse chase, you know, that they're running away from, and they're in the house, and you know they're in the house, but you don't know where they are. And, you know, you're on the edge of your seat, and they're trying to get away from them, they're chasing them. And all of that is pretty much non-existent in this movie because they're outside for almost the whole film here, running from trailer to trailer and trying to hide from these people. And it really ends up becoming almost a slasher film rather than a suspenseful horror film like the first one was, which I wouldn't have really cared about. I mean, that would have been fine, except it was just, there was nothing there. It was boring, to tell you the truth. And what made these characters so creepy and interesting in the first one was just gone. I mean, they didn't have the creepiness that they had in the first movie. There was just a guy with a bag on his head. And the two women that were in it were just kind of there to be in it. And I don't know, there was just like no real tension in this film. The whole entire time watching it, I also was getting this vibe of, this guy is trying to be John Carpenter. It has a lot of John Carpenter type of shots in the film. And then even up to the point at the end of the movie, this car was on fire, and I'm not even joking about this. This car was on fire and was chasing this person down the street. And the car right behind it had the flames coming off of it like Christine. It was a direct rip-off, or tribute, if you want to call it that, to Christine. And I was just sitting there thinking, oh my God, really? You know... So overall, I mean, the movie was just boring. To tell you the truth, it was. There was just nothing really to it. And once the killing started, it was kind of like, okay, I don't care, you know, enough about these people to care if they get killed. When they did find one of their family members dead, they're like, oh my God, they're dead. And then they run off, and there's like, you know, they don't really talk about it anymore. Like, oh, hey, they're dead. Okay, now next scene, you know, it was kind of like that. It was like, oh, well, they shouldn't have some sort of more reaction to that or something, or mention that to somebody, or you know, something. I don't know. It's not scary. There is no tension in the film. It does get slow and does get boring because you just kind of want it to be over with, and you don't care really about the characters at all. And it's a real shame too, because here I was really looking forward to a brand new franchise. You know, why wait 10 years to bring this out to you? I mean, you had 10 years to come up with something really amazing, and you had the money, you have the means to make this movie. Why not make it something great and make a brand new horror franchise, which we desperately need now? Unless they come out with a third one in another 10 years, which is a lot better than this one, and then maybe they can revive it somehow. But for now, I would say The Strangers, pray at dark or pray at night, just pray you don't go see this movie, gets a 2 out of 5 from me. And the other thing is, when I went to see this in the show, there was a couple over to my right, and probably about 7-8 minutes before the movie was over, it's like the whole, you know, plot of the film was over with, and it was at the epilogue, and it was, you know, wrapping up the story or whatnot. They got up and left, and I'm like, who does that? Who gets up and leaves 7 minutes before the movie? Were they wanting to get out, you know, and avoid the traffic, which wouldn't make sense? Like, this is not a baseball game, people. This is not like the 8th inning where you get up and you leave in the last 7 minutes of the film. I mean, I just find that so weird that people would do that. Well, but the movie's over, bye, and they get up and leave. I'm like, no, you still got 7 minutes. You don't want to see, you sat here for the last hour and a half. You don't want to see the last 7 minutes of this movie? With this one, I can't really blame them. But still, you know, you kind of wanted to see what happens, at least, to whoever survived here. And being that I have waited so long to bring this review to you guys, it's probably already out of the theaters, because it was one of those things that was probably popular for the first 3 or 4 nights, and then gone. And it'll probably be on Redbox probably by next week. And if you like the first one like I did, then you will probably be disappointed by this one. Now, I said at the beginning here, I was going to buy the Scream Factory disc, because I love the first one so much, but this one is so bad, it almost just makes the first one not worth watching, because it's, and I know that's a bad thing to say, is because the sequel is like, oh, whatever, your sequel. The first one's still great, you should go out and watch it, but I wanted something more from this. I wanted it to be a great new horror franchise, and now it's killed it. It's literally killed this franchise, being this movie as bad as it is. Not to say that you should never watch the first one, because you should. It's a great film, and you should probably go out and get the Scream Factory Blu-ray if you've never seen it. Just avoid this movie. Like, this one really left a bad taste in my mouth, and to the point where I don't really care about, the first one so much anymore, because this one's so bad. And again, I know that's not a great thing to say here, but it's true. It's one of those things. It's like, oh, they just ruined it. They just ruined it for me. So there you go. There is my review for Strangers 2. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we need as many maniacs as we can on this channel. And all the maniacs that have subscribed, you guys are amazing. You are awesome. And I love reading all your comments. And I love responding to every single one of you guys if I can. And please leave comments below. And I'll see you next time here on the Box Office Maniacs. Actually, it's not the. It's just box of it. Whatever.